Back at it again with the Porterverse Workbench. This time we're going to welcome a new member to the Abandoned Squad, if you will. This is my Abandoned Dale Thomas Percy model. We shall first dive into the history of this dude in the Porterverse, and then into how I made this model. Here we go! So if you recall from previous installments, you'll remember that the Dale Thomas events began to increase in frequency in the 1990s, and many railroads would either convert existing engines to look like Thomas characters, or build their own dummy units out of spare parts lying around. And these dummy units in particular varied in their accuracy to Thomas and all of us other friends, One certain railway made several dummy units, including the small version of Thomas, Henry, Gordon, and Percy, among others. These are made using old chassis parts and flatbed bogies that were just lying around at the railway at the time. To their credit, they were actually pretty decent given their accuracy and the circumstances. And the railway thrived for a brief bit as well. But eventually, bankruptcy would kill the railway that built these dummy units. By around 2002 or so, the units were either sold off, placed in sidings or abandoned, or just scrapped altogether. The dummy Thomas unit was never sold and was eventually abandoned in a siding and was completely covered in graffiti by around 2005. The Gordon and Henry units were sold to a theme park where they were motorized for hauling trains around the park. And the Percy dummy unit was sold to a train-themed restaurant that was set to open up in the outskirts of Pennsylvania near the Canadian border. The unit was repainted, albeit rather uninspired, as it was still very similar to Percy, and was placed inside the restaurant as a display piece. In around 2018, the restaurant eventually added an outdoor area, and thus the dummy unit was moved out to there. It was also around this time in 2018 when the real Thomas found it on tour. This is kind of where the whole story for this guy ends, as he's still at the restaurant today. Now that we have covered the backstory of this little guy, let's get into how I built the model itself. Like the dummy units of Thomas and Gordon, this dummy Percy was made using an all-engine scope push-along Percy. And this is the particular one that came with the Ghost Hunting 3-pack that also has the Ghost Train statue in the spinning radar. I took the Percy body apart and submerged the die-cast metal parts into 100% acetone. Always be careful with this sort of stuff as it is very, very strong. I've seen them about Legos, it is really weird to see. Anyway, so after letting it sit overnight in the acetone, I took a metal wire brush and used it to remove all the old paint. After getting it all cleaned up and rid of the old paint, I took white primer to the body, let that dry out for about a day, and then I went in with a coat of Rust-Oleum Gloss Metal Green. After letting that dry for another full day, I used a silver Sharpie for the saddle tank. I then added some blue dots to the sides to indicate like fake rivets. I imagine that the restaurant will paint those on. I then used metallic red for the cab window lining, and various other metallic details were added as well, like the gold cap for the funnel, little blue parts here and there, etc. In the face, I actually removed the nose using a hobby knife. Always be careful with knives, everybody. I then painted over the face with silver Sharpie. I probably should have used a robocall to remove the decaling, but I kind of ran out of time, so I want to get this video out soon. So you can still kind of see the face, but shh. After all the cosmetic bodywork was complete, I took the running board bit. I then mounted the whole body together onto a 6-wheeled bogie that I had lying around, the same type they used on the dummy Gordon. And an ungodly amount of super glue later and balancing and checking to make sure it was all straight, the model was finally complete. I find this model rather simplistic actually, yet striking at the same time, Not really sure, this is an admittedly simple mod to do really. But yeah, I feel like it just fits, Not really sure how to describe it. But yeah, he's pretty cool. I mean, look at him. He's just a small boy. He is small. Scrunkly little guy. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Porterverse Workbench. And I shall see you all in the next one.